This is the presentation I do for my fifth graders before we start our fifth grade color theory project. So let's talk about color theory. In this video, I'm going to talk about monochromatic, analogous, and complementary. Now, here's my disclaimer. This is a presentation I put together for my students. I've been using it for years in the classroom. I took all of these off the internet. They're not credited. I don't know where I got them. You can use this just as an idea to make your own, or you can use this as is, but this is not something that I'm putting forward as something that is my own creation or my own artwork. The other disclaimer is I'm doing this for you, the art teacher, just to get an idea of how you could teach this. If you actually want to use this presentation in class, just mute me. And that way you can talk over me. So what is color theory? Usually when I say to my kids, okay, today we're going to talk about color theory. Who knows what color theory is? Blank faces. They don't think they know any color theory at all. But then I show them that, in fact, they do know a lot of color theory, and that color theory is just a way of talking about and understanding colors and the use of colors and the creation of colors so that we can all understand each other when we're talking. There are actually so many colors, they don't all have names, and that people look at colors in very different ways. But here in elementary school, we start with some basic ways of talking about colors. And you may remember that when you were kindergartners, we learned about the primary colors and how those colors mixed. We learned about the color wheel, primary and secondary colors, perhaps even tertiary colors. We learned about the color spectrum. Now remember that the color wheel divides the colors up one way, but the spectrum divides it in another way and actually gives different names to some of the colors. We talked about dividing warm and cool colors. And as you'll remember, purple sometimes can go into warm and sometimes it can go into cool. We talked about value. In my class, we do value in the fourth grade. And we talked about how you can make colors lighter or darker by adding white or black. Now, actually, in my lineup, we actually cover complementary colors in the third grade, but I figure by the time they've gotten to fifth, they need a refresher. So I don't mention that we've already done that one. This year, we're going to talk about three new theories. The first, monochromatic, then analogous, and the third, complementary. First, let's talk about monochrome. Does anyone know what the word monochrome means? Now, they may come up with different ideas, but usually someone finally looks at the board and sees that it's written up there. Yes, mono means one, and chrome means color. So monochrome is one color, and it's all the values and the variations of that color that can be made by adding black and white. No matter what your color theory is, you can always add black and white. So when we talk about monochrome on the color wheel, I usually talk about monochrome as all the colors that live in one house. So everybody is very much alike. They're slightly different, but they all go together in one set. Now, you might think that making art with only one color might be boring, but you can see that these artworks that are made with a single color and adding black and white in different values are really dynamic and interesting and have got a great depth. So you can make really great art with a monochrome color scheme. Analogous colors. Does anyone have any idea what analogous colors are? That's right, analogous are the neighbor colors. So if monochromatic is everyone that lives in one house, then analogous is people who are next door neighbors. So you can go next door on either side. You can even go maybe 2 doors down, but you don't want to get much farther than that. So analogous to orange might be a darker orange and a yellow. Analogous to red could be pink and purple. Analogous to blue goes over to teal or maybe to purple. You can go either direction in your analogous colors. You can make some beautiful artwork with analogous colors. And you can see that these artists, as well as adding black and white, sometimes they go a little bit further. So if you're going to yellow on one side, maybe pink is a little bit further than analogous on the other side, but it's still going along that same line. They haven't crossed all the way over to the other side and added the completely opposite color, which is what you're going to do when you work with complementary colors. If monochromatic is the same house and analogous is next door neighbors, complementary is the people on the other side of town. You don't even know those people. They are so far away from you. So the opposite on the color wheel of red is green. The opposite of purple is yellow. And the opposite of blue is orange. So these color combinations make really strong effects, and some people really like to use them. Some people think that it's too harsh. But you don't always have to go exactly opposite from the primary and secondary colors. You can also look at the tertiary colors, so that a teal is going to be across from a red-orange. Complementary color artwork, as I said, can really be striking and powerful. Okay, who's ready for the quiz? Now, before I do the quiz, it's important that you have this written up on the board. The monochromatic, analogous, and complementary, along with a picture underneath it, whether that's just the colors up there or an actual picture, because even if they understand it during the presentation, once the quiz starts, they need something to refer to. Also, they have a terrible time saying analogous. So sometimes I just let them say the A word. Sometimes I let them just shout it out. Sometimes I divide them by tables. Sometimes I call on people. Okay, so for each slide, you're going to have to tell me whether this is monochromatic, that's one color, analogous, that's neighbor colors, or complementary. Those are the opposite colors. It's a good idea to have a color wheel up there too. Okay, how about this one? Let's look at each one of those frames. That's right, each one of those color combinations is complementary. The opposite of red is green, the opposite of blue is orange, and the opposite of yellow is purple. Excellent. What about these ladies? Each one of these ladies is wearing a particular color scheme. What color scheme are they wearing? Monochromatic, that's right. Each one of them is dressed in just a single color. Have any ideas? Analogous, that's right. So the pencils of blue and green are neighbors, and you can have some teal there. You can see that's a mix between the blue and the green. And the citrus fruits over here are all orange and yellow. Complementary, exactly. So red and green are complementary, and for this one, it is a blue and orange. The orange leans a little towards yellow. The blue is a little bit teal type. As always, when you're talking about color theory, you're not going to get precise colors every time. The year I made this slideshow, for some reason, this color combo was in fashion. What would we call this? Complementary. Now, here's where we're going to talk about the different meanings of complementary. Sometimes when we say something is complementary, that means they're telling you you look good. In this case, I'm not so sure. It just means opposites on the color wheel. And so for this, they're doing a teal blue and a reddish orange. Okay, monochromatic, analogous, or complementary? Analogous. So the yellow and the greens go together, they're neighbor colors, and the yellow, orange, and red are neighbor colors. Monochromatic, analogous, or complementary. That's right. All these are monochromatic. They've used just the one color, but look at how they've used the shading, the subtleties of adding the white and the black almost to total blackness. This can make a very vivid picture. Monochromatic, analogous, or complementary? Analogous. That's right. These are neighbors. Now, it's easy to see the yellow and the green are neighbors on the right, and on the left, the yellow and the orange to red are neighbors. The middle one can throw you off a little bit because they've got the purple and the orange right next to each other, and those aren't neighbors. But if you look the way they've used the three colors, the red is neighbors to the orange, and the red is also neighbor to the purple. So this would be an analogous. Monochromatic, analogous, or complementary. Yes, this is monochromatic, and you can see again how they've created the values using the black and the white. Now, as a side note, the picture in pink is Helena Bonham Carter, but you would be amazed at how many students think that that's Michael Jackson. So now you can add the three new color theories, monochromatic, analogous, and complementary, to the ones you already knew. The primary colors, the color wheel, the spectrum, warm and cool, and value. So as we work on our next project, I want you to think about colors, and I want you to think about what those colors mean, how you want to use them, and how you can create the effect that you want to create by carefully choosing your colors. So then I set them to their project, which for me is we usually use acrylic paints for this, but you can use anything. And I let them make any artwork that they want with the given materials, but they have to choose, is it a monochromatic, an analogous, or a complementary color scheme? They have to plan it, and before I give them any paint, they have to tell me not only what colors they want, but they have to tell me, is this monochromatic, analogous, or complementary color scheme. I hope this has been useful to you. I've got many more videos showing the lessons that I teach.